You're all such good little nerds. All right, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce to you the third speaker of the night, Naomi. I met Naomi in lockdown predominantly, and once I called her anxiously because I was constipated. She promised she wouldn't tell you about this, but I decided to get ahead of it anyway. Please welcome Naomi.
I really wasn't going to tell people about your clay poo, but I'm really glad you outed yourself anyway. Are there any hot girls with IBS in the audience? Can I have a show of hands? Yeah. See, I have this like perpetual fear whenever I give public talks that I will shit my pants, and not in that like, oh, you know, no, genuinely, it's always churning. It also wasn't a joke. I was trying to shit in that break and I couldn't. But I figured this one's okay because during this talk, I can literally just bring the 10-minute intermission early and just go and take a dump. Welcome to my talk. This is Hot Girls Have IBS. You might be wondering, who the fuck are you, strange poo girl? I'm Dr. Naomi Koh Belic. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm your... Can you see my pictures? I can feel it on my face. Yeah, this is better. I'm your biracial, bisexual, bimbo biologist. I'm a first-generation university graduate, so I have a PhD in stem cell biology. Please clap. Yeah. So many years of my life. And I'm also a second-generation Australian, so I'm Singaporean and Croatian, but I have a Japanese stepmom, so I feel like I just grew up eating really good food. I left academia. I have a make-believe job. I'm a freelance science communicator, whatever the fuck that is. People basically pay me to tell science stories, and I think it fits into like two broad categories, or like my two core values that I have. One of them is making sure that art and science are always kissing. They're really cute when they come together. So that looks like things like the drag experiment, I run a science drag show, or the Love Lab, a matchmaking experiment I run with Shu, who's taking a picture right now. That's really cute. Aww. It's very dance mum of you. And I also give a lot of shits about amplifying underrepresented voices. So who here has heard of Deadly Science? Yeah, if you have, open your wallets for them. If you haven't, open your wallets for them. We do some really wonderful work. We've been working with elders to support them in sharing their knowledge with children in remote communities across Australia, because Indigenous Australians are the first scientists. Shouts. But yeah, that's my weird little job. If you want to know more during question time, you can ask questions about any of those pictures up there and we can chat about that. But we're here to talk about my bowel movements. So what is IBS? It is irritable bowel syndrome. It's a really fun umbrella term. We used to think it was like one illness, but it's really just this big collection of lots of different little illnesses. Broadly speaking, you have tummy pain, it hurts a bit, and then you see changes in your bowel movements. You either have those, Halo, where'd you go? Those really like solid clay shits, right? You're clogged up, you're constipated, or it's just like gushing. You have diarrhea, it's wet, it's everywhere. If you're really lucky, there's also this like third subtype where you just kind of flip-flop between the two. Yeah? Solid rocks, waterfall, solid rocks. That's really fun if you get the lucky dip and you just get the little remix version. And if you're sitting here and you're like, holy shit, is that what IBS is? Do I have IBS? You very well might. The most important thing you need to take away from this entire talk is, for the love of God, go see a GP, because the symptoms we talk about have overlaps with heaps of other really nasty illnesses. So you want to make sure you're seeing a GP to rule those things out. So I like shat in a little cup, made sure there wasn't any parasites, made sure there was no cancer in my butthole. There's lots of fun little checks you can do, but you really do need to start by seeing a GP before you self-diagnose and play with any of this other stuff. And if you are sitting here going, oh my God, I have IBS, know that you're just like me. And also around 10% of Australians have IBS. That's little me in the corner waving with my little sloppy plops. I would best describe them somewhere between like a soft serve and a slushie, around like 4 to 6 times a day. And I didn't discover this at a nerd night, no. I went to donate blood. And you have to tick all the boxes, right? I don't blah, 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 blah. And one of them was like, haven't had diarrhea in the last 7 days. And I was like, what do you mean that's every day? So I just left it. And they were like, hey, did you forget to tick this box? And I was like, no, runny poos. And they told me I was a faint risk and that I'm not allowed to donate blood without an approval letter from my doctor. And they told me I should really talk to my doctor about IBS. Anyway, they were right. I have IBS. Woo. I think one of the reasons why I didn't notice I have IBS is because we really don't talk about shit enough. Who here is uncomfortable when we talk about poo? A little show of hands? Yeah, you're going to have fun tonight, aren't you? But there's this like really icky thing. There's this notion that girls have to be pure and clean. But it's this really weird patriarchal value that forms a foundation of some real wacky views. And one of them is that girls don't poo. I know that sounds so stupid, right? Because like everyone poos. It's just a thing we do. But in school, it's like, oh, girls don't fart, girls don't poo. And it manifests in very real ways. When I was a child, that's me, I had no shame pooing. Look at how comfortable I was. She's confident, she's cute, she's not constipated yet. And then when I grew my hair out long in my teen years was the peak of my poo shame. It got really bad. Like, so I'll give you an example. So, who here is a nervous pooer? Can I have a show of hands? Yeah, right? It can be pretty daunting. Who knows of that trick where like you take a piece of toilet paper and put it in the toilet to stop the splash, right? Show of hands? Okay, we know about this. Let me one-up you. Two-up you, actually. So when I was in high school, I was dating this boy. It's not really that important. But I don't know what I thought he was doing when I shat. Like, I imagine he must have been, like, on the other side of the door, like, pressed up against it listening. He wasn't, obviously. He's just, like, living his own life down the corridor. But I would do that, right? I would go to the toilet. I would take my little piece of paper, right? My one little piece. That'll save me. Yeah, good. And then I was like, I'm really gassy. It looks pretty good. Let me just suffocate the farts. As they came out, I was like, so now you can't hear those. That's also really great. I'll put that in the toilet bowl. And then I would look at that piece of toilet paper and I was like, is that really going to soften the plop enough? I don't know. I think I could one second. Oh, a little tissue glove. And then, I hate this. This is actually very true. I would just kind of like catch it. And then I would just slide the glove into the toilet. Peak of my poo shame. I don't do that anymore, friends. And I'll have you know, I spoke about this on Triple J, so I've let the shame go. I don't know, when I was doing it, you could see they were like, is she really saying that? You're meant to be like our expert. What are you talking about? And I was like, yeah, and I'd shit in my hand. And I talk about poo a lot now. I think bodily fluids are fun, and I think poo shame's just a little bit silly. So that picture at the top is when I made a video about it for ABC. But I am not alone. There is this movement of hotties on the internet who are really trying to break that poo stigma, and it's the Hot Girls Have IBS movement. It's really cute. It makes me really happy. I find it really empowering, and it's really sweet. I wrote an article for ABC 2 years ago where the Hot Girls Have IBS hashtag had over 19 million views on TikTok. I can't tell you what it is today because they changed the way they share their stats about hashtags, but I don't know, it's a lot. Lots of you. People give a shit about hot girls who poo, okay? Like me. And lots of other hotties, like Willow Pill. Can I have a show of hands who loves Willow Pill? Homophobes, not enough hands. That's okay. It's just my favourite drag performer with tummy issues. Yes, we love Willow Pill. But, we're out here, we're talking about it, we're breaking that stigma. But if you are someone who has IBS, what you probably really give a shit about is like, what can we do about it? Because I joke, it's funny, but like it's also pretty shit. It can be like really bad for your depression and anxiety. It can be really uncomfortable. So I'm just going to spend the rest of the time talking you through treatments. But the one thing I want you to really be mindful of is that I said IBS was this big umbrella term, right? It's all these different little illnesses. It's super duper complex. So one treatment that works for you won't necessarily work for you, and it is super, super personalized. You might be qualified, but probably aren't, you should talk to a GP and make sure you have medical support in working through treatments and working out what's good for you. And honestly, the best thing is to have like a multidisciplinary team. It's hard to find. I couldn't find one in Sydney. But there is a place in Melbourne. It's the Melbourne Centre Gastroenterology something. There's like a word at the end. Unit, place, centre, joyful, whatever. Maybe it's just those 3 words. But there are places where you can find people who are experts across all of these different treatments that I'll talk about, so they can guide you through finding the right way to take care of your bowels. Yeah. The first one is dietary interventions. Who here has heard of low FODMAP diet? It's a big hand. Yeah, we all know what that is. It's pretty simple, right? It's normally like a 6-week plan. You remove all these foods, you reintroduce other foods. The idea is you work out what makes your bowels irritated. It's pretty straightforward, and it works really well. So we know that it does a really great job of putting you back in control of your IBS, because IBS really consumes your life, okay? You just think about shitting yourself all the time, or think about not shitting and why isn't it coming out? Where is it? So putting you back in control of your bowels is like a really nice thing. It's great. There's no medication involved, so that's kind of nice, but the real issue is that it's pretty mentally taxing. My GP was like, hey, girly pop, you definitely have IBS. Why are you shitting 4 to 6 times a day? Why don't you tell me this? And you should go on a low FODMAP diet. And I was like, but I like to eat. And I'm okay with the IBS. It wasn't really a problem. Apparently I'm a faint risk. But other than that, I accept my treatment of choice is delusion. That's it. Yeah. Anyway, there's other treatments. Some options include medications. So they're normally super symptom specific, and depending on what symptom, it works, really well or kind of well. The downsides here is that medications sometimes have side effects. Also, what other meds are you taking? Are those meds all like mingling into a little juice in your body? And they're normally short-term solutions, but what I find really interesting about medications is that antidepressants have been shown to work reasonably well with IBS, and you're probably like, what the fuck do you mean? It's my butt's funny, why are you giving me brain drugs? It's a fun little thing called our little gut-brain axis, friends. They kind of hold hands. So there's a lot of debate. We're not entirely sure if it's like, the brain upset the tummy, or the tummy upset the brain, or which way it goes, but like they're definitely going. And they're going in both directions. And things like antidepressants have been shown in some cases to really help with IBS, but also other medications. What I really love is the idea of physical therapy. So like exercising in general, good for your bowel movements. Kegels, really good for your pelvic floor. It's great because it's a wonderful long-term solution. We know that it works. The downside is, are any of you here physiotherapists? Yeah, so like we probably don't know what the fuck we're doing. And if you just go home and prescribe yourself all of this like set of Kegels, you just might make your problem worse because you don't really know what's happening with your pelvic floor. You don't really know if that's suitable to your type of IBS. So I'm not prescribing Kegels, but if you go and see your doctor, they might prescribe Kegels. My absolute favorite though is psychological treatments. Now, I love my therapist. She's the best. She doesn't really help with my bowel movements, though. I hadn't really considered that, but we're remembering the gut-brain axis, yeah? It makes sense. We work on the brain, make the bowels a little happier. One of the psychological treatments they suggested was hypnosis. And I was like, what do you mean? Like when someone's like, let me, I really can't click, whatever. Like, make chicken noises, and you're like, paka, 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 and then they're like, that's what I thought hypnosis was. Turns out it's actually like a real medical treatment. Wild. Also works stupidly well. Like, there was a study done in Australia where hypnosis gave results just as good as a low FODMAP diet. Doesn't that sound fun? So much better than not eating good food. It's an effective long-term solution, obviously no meds. The downside is, where the fuck do you get hypnotherapy? I don't know, actually that place I mentioned before, you can get it there. But there's also apps. And one of my friends, also a doctor, Dr. Ray, she said I could use her name. I was like, do you want me to redact this? And she's like, no, tell them about my bowel movements, girly pop, we're all hot. She also has IBS, the constipated kind. I'm the sloppy kind, right? We're kind of, yeah, we cover the spectrum. And she used this hypnosis app. And I was like, okay, I understand the gut-brain axis. I understand hypnosis is like a real treatment. I know it can help with IBS. What the fuck do you mean you do it on an app, though? What do you mean? And she told me it's kind of like more like guided meditation. So you have this, like, you have keywords that start and end your sessions, and you work through different activities. So for one of them, they were like flowing down this, I don't know, what's a fucking windy waterway? River? Yeah, we'll go with that. You're flowing down a river, and along the river you encounter these blockages, and you move through ways of removing these blockages, and it's like, you get it, you can see it, it's your little gut, it's little blockages, your solid turds. And it has been incredible for her. The science also says it works, but I love that my one friend really enjoyed it. I will say, you can't really be like accredited as like a hypnotherapist in Australia, so don't go and get like hypnotherapy from like Sarah down the corner or whoever the hell it might be. Please make sure if you are engaging hypnotherapy, you're just double checking that who you're getting it from is qualified, or it's with an app developed by very qualified people. But hypnotherapy is really fun. That's honestly all I really wanted to chat about. I have lots of things I love, so feel free to ask me questions about science communication and things that make me happy, but I just thought I'd come on here and tell you about my bowel movements. Yeah, thank you.
Alrighty, does anyone have any questions for Naomi? Okay, there's one up here. Scruncher or a folder?
I demonstrated folding.
Wait, let's demonstrate this again.
I shit so frequently. If I scrunch, I feel like it might just kind of like upset my butthole. You know, it just needs to be like a gentle wipe. You know what doesn't make sense to me though? Fucking toilet paper, right? If I were to stick my hand into like a tub of Nutella and I told you I just wiped it on some toilet paper, would you think that was clean? No. And it's not like you're putting your hand in poo or anything. But I just think bidets make sense. Yes. Bidets make sense. So my preference is a fold near a sink where I can reach over, gentle wet, wet, wipe, wipe, dry wipe. That's my preferred wiping technique. Yes. Someone buy me a bidet. Anybody know any bidet sponsors? That's a sponsor I want. Ooh.
Apparently they're like $50. 250. Oh. It's like, that's a steal.
That's the cost of a clean asshole.
Yeah, we've got a question at the back here.
So I've heard from many females that you go into the female bathroom and it is full stealth pooing. Like we were talking about before, like you can't hear a sound. Right, but the men in the room can tell you go into a male bathroom and it almost seems like a competition. Like the loudest sounds when you go in there, and I'm like, what is the psychology of this? And how can we go and feel better about like just do a huge turn? We love that.
What's behind the psychology of the different pooping behavior between genders?
I'm breaking it right now. I feel like fuck the patriarchy. Go and like drop a fat fart.
I will say, I'm a trans man, right? So there was a point where I had to move bathrooms, and I went into the men's bathrooms, and I was like, did I just walk into a fucking war zone? Terrifies me.
Yeah. This is the equality I need. Free farts for all.
Yeah, one at the
Sound
back
like I'm on
here.
a pageant.
Ooh, how much do you think women's psychology around pooing, and I guess also patriarchy then, is contributing to IBS?
Who researches women? Not very many people, so I probably couldn't draw much scientific literature there. Ooh. But I do think it is super duper complex. I think a lot about, because I have like diagnosed anxiety and diagnosed IBS. I was like, which came first? Like, which way did it go? Are they just feeding off of each other in this really like vicious loop, and I'm just like constantly shitting and shaking? Like, I have no idea, but I would really want someone to research it and tell me.
Any more questions? Oh, yep, one at the front here.
Is IBS more prevalent amongst females, and is there like a hereditary link?
Depends. So IBS is super, super broad. There's
Naomi,
lots of different
what
things
was the
within
question?
it. Oh. Is IBS more prevalent amongst females, and is there a hereditary link? Oh, yeah, look at me, brain, it's on. It is definitely more common amongst females. Why, I don't know. But it is. And I think that's why there's a lot of, like, the hot girls have IBS movement. Like, yeah, everyone who is hot can have IBS. You can't have IBS if you're ugly. But it is largely girls who have IBS.
All right, maybe one more, two more? One up here.
It's been shown in chronic pain research that neuroplastic pain, which is, the synaptic, I'm not going to explain this too technically because there are people that know science way better than I do in this room, but basically, like, the connections of that your brain has created through anxiety has basically resulted in IBS, and through central nervous system sensitization, it gets, worse as you get older and become more sensitive to it and obviously triggered by it. And so that's why they recommend resolving for psychological illnesses first as a sort of foundation.
Yeah, resolving psychological illnesses is much harder than, like, not eating, like, cheese. But yes, 100%.
Yep, any more questions? Oh, yeah, right here.
You may or may not know the answer to this, but like gut-brain axis is a thing. So is there a link between IBS and other, like, either physical or mental health issues? And does that change if you start getting treatment, any kind of treatment?
IBS and anxiety are like always kissing. No, they're super duper friends. And I think that's why I think also with depression, that's why SSRIs seem to be really good for people who have the constipation subtype of IBS. So yes, would anybody like a free toilet roll? Can I throw it at someone? Yeah, let's go. Whee!
That was actually
That was your toilet roll, I know.
my toilet roll.
Thank you.
All right, put your hands together for Naomi one last time.